Can you believe that the United States and Great Britain, two of the most powerful nations of the 19th century, almost went to war, all because of a pig? It sounds unbelievable, almost like a joke, but this strange and forgotten story is completely true. It is remembered in history as the Pig War of 1859. The story takes us to the San Juan Islands, a group of beautiful islands lying between Vancouver Island, controlled by the British, and Washington State, controlled by the United States. In the mid-1800s, these islands were highly disputed territory. The boundary lines between the U.S. and Britain had never been properly drawn, and both nations claimed land as their own. American settlers were moving in, farming and building homes, while the powerful British Hudson's Bay Company was also running farms and trading posts there. It was only a matter of time before a clash occurred. On June 15, 1859, an American farmer named Lyman Cutler discovered a large black pig in his garden, digging up his potato plants. This wasn't the first time. The pig often wandered into his land, and Cutler had already been frustrated. But this time, something snapped. He raised his rifle, fired, and killed the pig. What he didn't realize in that moment was that he had just set off one of the strangest international conflicts in history. The pig belonged to Charles Griffin, an Irishman who worked for the Hudson's Bay Company. Griffin was furious. He claimed the pig was valuable and demanded $100 in compensation, a huge sum at the time. Cutler admitted he had shot the pig, but argued that it had been destroying his crops and was not worth anywhere near that much. He offered Griffin $10 instead. Griffin refused, and soon British authorities became involved. They threatened to arrest Cutler for destroying British property. This might have ended as a simple neighborhood quarrel, but instead, it escalated rapidly. American settlers on the island feared that the British were trying to push them off their land. They demanded protection from the U.S. Army. In response, a small force of American soldiers under the command of Captain George Pickett landed on San Juan Island. Pickett was a fiery officer, and he declared that no British subject would be allowed to arrest an American on American soil. The British were not willing to back down either. Within weeks, 3 British warships arrived, carrying more than 2,000 troops. The Americans responded by sending reinforcements of their own. Cannons were pointed, soldiers were ready, and for a moment it looked like war was inevitable. Imagine the scene: 2 powerful nations, both armed and prepared, facing each other down over a single dead pig. The standoff grew more and more intense. Newspapers in both America and Britain began reporting on the crisis. Some feared that another war between the two nations, only decades after the War of 1812, was about to begin. Soldiers dug trenches, officers shouted orders, and the people of the islands waited nervously for the first shot to be fired. But as yet, despite the tension, something unusual happened. Neither side actually wanted to start the war. Both American and British commanders quickly realized how absurd the situation had become. Were they really going to spill blood, lose lives, and risk full-scale war between empires over a single pig? Instead of attacking, the soldiers remained on the island. Weeks turned into months and then into years. What had begun as a dangerous standoff slowly transformed into something far more peaceful. For 12 long years, American and British soldiers lived side by side on San Juan Island. Rather than fighting, they developed a strange friendship. They held parades together, played sports, and even celebrated holidays as one community. There were dinners, games, and even marriages between local families. The so-called Pig War had turned into one of the most unusual military occupations in history, where the soldiers from 2 rival nations spent more time laughing and drinking together than fighting. Finally, in 1872, the long dispute was settled once and for all. Both sides agreed to let a neutral country decide who owned the islands. The decision was given to Kaiser Wilhelm I of Germany, who carefully examined the case. After reviewing the arguments, he awarded the San Juan Islands to the United States. And just like that, the Pig War officially ended. The United States gained new territory, Britain accepted the decision, and the two nations avoided what could have been a disastrous war. In the end, the only casualty of the entire conflict was the pig that had started it all. One pig, killed for digging up potatoes, almost dragged two powerful nations into battle. But ultimately, cooler heads prevailed. Today, the pig war is remembered as a lesson in restraint and diplomacy. Visitors to San Juan Island can still see the old American and British camps, which are preserved as part of the San Juan Island National Historical Park. They stand as reminders of a time when war nearly broke out over livestock, and how sometimes even the most absurd situations can teach us about peace. So the next time someone tells you history is boring, remember this: the United States and Great Britain nearly went to war over a pig. And that's not a joke, it's a true story.